What's going on, guys? Hexadaze here, and welcome to my early access first impressions for Caeser King. Caeser is the first limited S-rank defender in the game, but don't let her defender role fool you because Caeser does a bit of everything. Beyond providing an attack buff that matches Sukaku, her shield makes her immune to interruption, which just makes her busted in teams that you wouldn't even expect. As a disclaimer, this video was recorded on the creator beta server, so there may still be some changes in the final version, but they should be minor. In this video, we're going to cover Caeser's unique kit, how she compares to other units in similar roles, her team and build options, and my overall thoughts on just how good Caeser is and whether I'd recommend pulling her on your account. Let's not waste any time and get right into it. Okay, before we get into all of the nuances of Caeser's kit, I just want to show how easy Caeser is to use, and you're going to see a ton of words on the menus and on the skill info for Caeser, but she's really simple to activate kind of all of her kit with 2 presses of E. So I'm going to bring Caeser in. I'm going to wait for the enemy to attack. I'm going to press E when he attacks me. I'm going to do a perfect dodge. I'm going to press E one more time. At this point, Caeser has a shield. You can see that orange bar next to her. I'm going to look at her detailed stats. She's going to have an attack buff of 1000, and me doing that perfect block also debuffed the enemy and is making him take an additional 25% more damage. That's it. That's really all there is to get everything out of Caeser. The fact that her skill info says so much stuff is kind of funny, but we are going to get into more of the nuances of her kit, but I want to get out of the way first because, yeah, Caesar's a very simple character, and she's going to do a whole lot for your team. So for a little bit more of a deep dive on Caeser, let's start off with kind of the core part of her kit, which is going to be her EX special attack. All right, so looking at the skill description for Caesar's special attack, she's got basically 2 special attacks that are performed in sequence. First is the parry counter, and second is the overpowered shield bash. Your parry counter is just that, your ability to parry enemies and perform a perfect block if you do this at the exact right time. And your second attack is just a follow-up attack. Basically, if you perform a perfect block with your first attack, then you'll be able to perform this second attack without using any energy. All right, so let's take a look at what this looks like in practice. So first, I'm going to demonstrate just doing the first part of her EX skill into the second part without a perfect block. So there was the first EX skill and into the second. So if we don't do it when we see that the enemy's attacking, we're just going to perform both of those in sequence. Now we can perfect block an attack just as we would perfect dodge and then chain into our second attack. And in that case, your second attack isn't going to use any energy. So we'll do it again. It's very easy. So we mitigated all incoming damage, and then that second attack did not use any energy. One of the nice things about Caesar's kit is that even if you use her regular special attack, Shockwave Shield Bash, she's still going to mitigate all incoming damage, even if you don't have energy. So that parry isn't dependent on energy, which is very nice overall. So Caeser actually has one additional way to trigger a perfect block if you miss with her EX special parry counter. So with the second follow-up attack, it states that if Caeser is hit by an enemy at the beginning of the skill activation or a interrupt is triggered with a shield strike, it will trigger a perfect block, negating incoming damage once and recovering the energy used to activate the skill. So this also is another way to remove the energy requirement of her follow-up EX skill. So let's take a look at what this looks like in practice. So I'm gonna have to use my EX skill kind of before I can see the attack coming. You can see there I just missed. And then I'm going to stay in this guard stance and follow up at the time when he attacks. So there I pulled it off. See if I can do it again. So I'm in my guard stance. He attacks, and then I was able to perfect block. So pretty cool. Her kit's really fun. She's got a lot of kind of nuance to the parry mechanics, which yeah, make her a really fun character to play. We're also going to see something called retaliation all over Caesar's kit, and basically after we do her first EX skill, if it doesn't result in a perfect block, she's going to stand in this guard stance. You can see I got hit, And then I followed up with a second EX skill and I triggered what's called retaliation. So that's all that's referring to. And really, retaliation is going to help activate some parts of Caesar's kit, notably stance switch. So basically when Caesar performs a perfect block, a retaliation, or defensive assist, she's going to gain an increase in impact of 20% for 3 seconds, just making her a better daze unit. This is also going to help activate her core skill, which we're going to talk about next. All right, so checking out Caesar's core skill. So when Caesar uses her EX special attack, a chain attack, or an ultimate, she's going to get a shield. This shield is going to scale off her impact, and it's going to be equal to 1400% of her base impact plus 1400. It's going to last for 90 seconds, so an extremely long time. You're likely going to refresh it before it ends, and it's going to be shared amongst your entire team. This is also where Caesar gets her attack buff of 1000. The other incredible thing about this shield is the anti-interrupt. So we can take damage and our characters are not going to flinch. It's pretty insane. This is going to be really busted for some characters, which we will talk about shortly. All right, now let's check out her additional ability, the second part of her core skill, which is called Battle Spirit. To activate her additional ability, you're going to need another character in your squad who can either perform a defensive assist or is from the same faction. So if you don't know, almost every character in the game uses a defensive assist. We can go look at the roster. Nekomata uses a defensive assist. Soldier 11 uses a defensive assist. So really the only characters that aren't going to use a defensive assist, but are instead going to use an evasive assist are going to be our range characters. So for example, Zhu Yuan or someone like Billy Kid is going to use an evasive assist. So Caesar is very universal. She's going to work in a ton of teams because of how this is activated. And for her additional ability, when she does a perfect block, retaliation, a defensive assist, or a basic attack dead end, which is going to be a hold basic attack, which I'll showcase shortly, she's going to apply a debuff to the enemy within a 7-meter radius, and she's going to increase the damage these enemies take by 25% for 30 seconds. So she's really just going to allow us to do more damage. So let's showcase this in practice with her hold basic skill and also show that off at the same time. So Caesar's definitely got a pretty unique hold basic skill because it is going to utilize assist points in order to activate. There it is in action. It's a pretty big AoE. It's a good way to apply that debuff to lots of enemies at the same time. And in case you forgot, we get assist points back either by chain attacks. Each chain attack will give you back 1 assist point, or our ultimate skill, which will give 3 assist points. So that's kind of the last unique part of her kit. And we'll look briefly at a couple things, and then we'll talk about teams and some of her build options before wrapping up the video. So earlier in the video, I mentioned that Caesar scales with the impact stat. She's got a high base impact, and her shield also scales with her impact. So this gives us some incentive to build into that stat further, which is also in return going to make Caesar a very good stun replacement, much like the other defense agents. We can also see on like her EX special attack, when she performs that perfect block, she's going to have pretty high days multipliers overall. So 231 plus 379, so up around 600% days for just the first part of her EX special attack is going to make her very good at stunning enemies. All right, now you may be wondering, how do these stun multipliers compare to a character like Ambi? So first, let's check out Anbi's EX skill. So with Anbi's EX special attack at level 16, she is going to have a days multiplier of 810. We check out Caesar's EX special attack at level 12. When we perform a perfect block, we are going to have a days of 231 plus 379, so just over 600%. And then if we can go into our second attack, which we will with a perfect block, another 231, so about 840%, which puts us, really kind of right in line with Ambi, which is cool. Now, if we perform that EX special attack with Ambi, I don't know, we got maybe 20% of the bar filled. Let's just see how many we have to do. 1, 2, 3. So it's going to take 4 to stun the enemy. And then Ambi's skill is going to have an energy cost of 60. So actually a little bit more than Caesar's, assuming that we can pull off a perfect block. So let's make this enemy moving, and I need it to attack me. And then we will check out Caesar's performance. Let's see how many EX skills we have to perform with Caesar. So Ambi was using an impact focused build. Caesar, you know, not quite as much. She's running the new Shielder set. Oh my God. So I screwed up at the beginning there, but it looks like it's going to take us, you know, 3 total to stun the enemy with Caesar. So pretty insane performance overall, I'd say. You know, Caesar is keeping up with Ambi, who is equipped specifically with that impact set. So awesome stuff. Okay, so you may be wondering, how does Caesar's shield strength compare to the other shielders? So real quick, Caesar's shield is going to scale off her impact stat, and I am running Caesar with a 2-piece of the impact set, giving an additional 6%. She's running the 4-piece new shielder set, and she's got impact in that slot 6. With that, her impact stat is going to be at 174. Now, looking at how we calculate shield strength for Caesar, it's going to be 1400% times her impact plus 1400, or about 3800. It's going to apply to your entire team and swap between characters. When we compare this to Seth's max shield is going to be 3000, and it applies to a single character. And Ben's shield is going to be about, on average, somewhere around 1300, and each character on your team is going to have that same shield strength. So when applied to the whole team, it's going to also be about 3900. So really, overall, these characters kind of all have a very similar shield strength ability. So not only does Caesar provide a shield and stun enemies, she also provides buffs. And so she's got some other competition in that department as well. First up, we've got Lucy. So Lucy is going to provide an attack buff of 600, or up to 600, with her EX special attack. Someone like Sukaku is very comparable in buffs to Caesar. So Sukaku is going to give 1000 attack with her core skill, and also 20% ice damage with her core skill. So this is very similar to what Caesar's going to give. We've got someone like Nicole, who's a little more niche, but is going to give crazy buffs in that niche environment. And then we've got someone like Seth, who just released and is an A rank agent. So Seth is going to give 100 anomaly proficiency to someone on your team, and also be able to decrease anomaly buildup. So Seth is going to be really good only on an anomaly damage or disorder focused team, whereas Caesar is going to be able to slot into any damage dealer's team. Also, Seth's buffs, just in general, that 100 anomaly proficiency is not as strong as 1000 attack in any way that I've calculated so far. You know, these two can actually be paired together though, and they can, you know, boost up a single hyper carry anomaly unit. So that is a perfect segue to talk about teams. So Caesar is essentially going to fit into any team. She is kind of just a busted all around support. She's really kind of like the Zhongli or the Bennett of Zenless Zone Zero, from what I can tell, providing actually similar buffs to both of those characters combined. So the first team that she's going to work really well in is obviously going to be a Jane Doe, Caesar, and then Burnice team when Burnice releases. You could also run, like I just mentioned, Jane Doe with Caesar, and then Seth in that last spot to really give kind of all of the possible buffs to Jane Doe. Okay, in the meantime, before Burnice releases, or if you're not able to pull on 3 limited S rank agents in a row because you're not a mega whale, well, Caesar has some very good teams. So there's actually 2 more teams I want to highlight. The first one is going to be a Soldier 11 hypercarry team with Caesar and Lucy. This is going to activate everyone's additional abilities. It's just going to be a really good team. It's going to boost up Soldier 11, and I think this team's going to work great together overall. Additionally, we can take out Soldier 11 here and we could run someone like Nekomata. This is going to be another team that works well. All of our additional abilities are active, and I think these two are really going to buff up Nekomata, and maybe in a way that she hasn't had yet, and will maybe allow her to shine and move up on that tier list a bit. The other kind of slot that actually works here, which is pretty bizarre, is going to be a Ellen Joe team, and we're going to actually sub back in Sukaku. So in this role, Caesar is really here not only to buff Ellen, but really to provide that anti-interrupt. So let's take a look at why this is important. Okay, so when Ellen is in battle, if she gets hit during her attack combo, you can see she gets interrupted. Okay, Ellen's skill, her basic attack, is going to be really backloaded in damage. You know, that the final hits are definitely going to do the most damage, and we want to make sure that we're getting to that third hit. So if we can pop a Caesar shield, Ellen can be hit as many times, you know, as that shield stays active, and her rotation is not going to get screwed up. Now, this is going to apply to any character with a long attack rotation, or any character that, you know, we're just kind of cycling through these basic attacks, and it's really going to help pump out DPS. And you also just don't have lost uptime when you're performing attacks otherwise. So it should help overall in just clearing, you know, our Shiyu defense stages faster. Let's talk about Caesar's builds kind of as the final thing before we wrap up and I give my final pros and cons on Caesar. Really, the biggest downside to Caesar and kind of defense agents in general right now is their lack of weapons. So Caesar's signature weapon, Surprise, is going to definitely be her best in slot. That's because she wants this impact advanced stat. The rest of the effects are good. You know, it's going to increase our shield strength, and it's also going to increase the damage in days dealt by our party, which is amazing. But really having this impact stat in combination with the W engine effect is where this thing is going to shine. All of the other defender weapons are going to have defense, attack, or HP. So really the only other kind of weapons that I see as having some viability are going to be Seth's signature Peacekeeper. This is okay. It's going to give her a little bit of additional damage. However, this energy regen isn't really that important. And this anomaly buildup also isn't something we necessarily want. The Battle Pass weapon is going to be okay as well. It's going to give us that attack percent stat, which will help with their damage, which is welcome. But then it's going to reduce damage taken and essentially give more energy regen to either you or to your party. So this one is a bit more supportive. This is going to be kind of her second best option. The Peacekeeper is going to be the third best option. And then after that, honestly, everything is pretty rough. So if you aren't pulling for her signature, I'd go with the Battle Pass, and then I would go with the Peacekeeper. As far as builds go, she's very flexible. You know, this new Proto-Punk 4-piece set is amazing for her. I would recommend throwing on the 4-piece set, getting that shield strength up, and then also, you know, giving a basically a universal buff to your entire party. This triggering a defensive assist or an evasive assist is pretty much just a given every time you're swapping characters, and all of your team is going to get 15% damage. Easy, easy, easy. As far as her build goes, really you are going with, you know, attack or probably crit in this slot 4, physical damage bonus in slot 5, impact in slot 6, and then your 2-piece you can kind of run whatever you want. If you want some more days, which is probably what I'd recommend, go with that 2-piece impact set. But she's flexible. She kind of does a little bit of everything, so her build isn't, you know, super it's whatever you want to run on her to best support your team will work just fine. So what are my final closing thoughts on Caesar? I think Caesar is kind of absolutely busted. I kind of think Koyoverse maybe overtuned her a little bit. She kind of does everything, and she does everything surprisingly well. I've been saving, and I am going to be picking up both Caeser and Burnice. I really just like their character designs, but the fact that Caeser can slot into kind of any team and fill several roles is really strong. However, with the game being so young, I think for anyone that is not wailing out, prioritizing strong teams and really DPS characters of different elements will probably carry you the furthest right now. However, I think Caesar's going to be one of those units that is just meta for a long time, if not maybe forever. She seems, incredibly broken, and I don't think you can do any wrong by picking her up. I also think skipping her is totally okay. And yeah, I think she's a great character overall. So if you guys found this video helpful or informative, please consider subscribing to the channel. I realize this was a long one, so if you stuck around to the end, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys soon for the next video.